wrong for telling my husband off for wanting me to let my infertile brother-in-law and his wife experience childbirth by being with me in the delivery room? My husband's brother, 37, and his wife, 35, struggled with infertility for years. After trying so much for long, they decided to stop. But they started sort of living the experience of having a child by doing the things that parents do, like getting a nursery, buying baby clothes, toys, attending school shows, etc. It's a little creepy. I'm 7 months pregnant, and brother-in-law and sister-in-law have been asking so many questions on what it's like to be expecting. It was bothersome with them getting involved, but I grinned and bear it till they requested to be with me in the delivery room to experience the childbirth. I said no and stood firm, but later discovered that my husband volunteered his place to give his brother and his wife a chance to have this experience. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law came over later to try to talk me into it. I nicely said no, but they pushed me, so I blew up, telling them their fertility problems aren't my fault and told them to get therapy. Harsh, I know, and I regret saying it. My sister-in-law started crying. Brother-in-law asked me to take time to think, but I rudely said there was nothing to think about and my mind's already been made. They left and my husband started raging. After yelling at me about how this is his child too and how rude and dismissive I was to his grieving and struggling brother and wife, he told me to look him in the eyes and tell him if I would be happy to ruin his brother's marriage when I can do this small yet graceful deed and help brother-in-law and wives process their trauma and finally make peace with it. I felt so much anger, I cried. He told me to get over myself already and stop being purposefully selfish and petty. We're not talking now, and he says it stays this way till I say yes. I might have acted cruel, but I just wanted him as the father of my child to be with me and don't feel comfortable with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law being there.
This is why I do not go outside with my hair colored, ever. Story time. So today I had to go grocery shopping, but I was like, let me film a quick hair coloring TikTok before I go. Actually, that's what today's look is. The video is already posted. Go check it out. So I color my hair, film my video, and head to the grocery store, right? I must have been in a rush because I forgot to wash my hair out. And on top of that, I didn't realize that I didn't wash my hair out. So I'm walking around the grocery store thinking my hair is black. So I start to realize that people are staring at me, but I didn't know why. And I have social anxiety, so I started getting real nervous and I started sweating, and it was not pretty. Eventually, I get in line to check out, and the cashier is looking at me, and then eventually she goes, "Aren't you that gay boy that be coloring his hair on TikTok?" And I was just like, didn't say a word. I could not wait to pay and run out the store with my grocery bags. So embarrassing.
For lying to my boyfriend about being pregnant just to keep him in a relationship. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. I was sending me an Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 5 years. Granted, we did break up throughout those 5 years. With all the breakups, we've actually been together for about 3 years. I've never considered myself an obsessive person, but when it comes to him, something just takes over me. Here's some of the reasons why we broke up. At first, he didn't want to be in a relationship even though I begged him, which I know was so dumb of me. So he eventually broke up with me and told me that he didn't want anything serious. But he kept on calling me every single week because he wanted the dirty. Instead, I started going out on other dates and I would flaunt it all over my social media. And this worked. It made him super jealous and he came right back to me. Called me up one day and told me that he wanted me back. The second time we broke up, I caught him talking to some girls on Facebook. When I confronted him, he broke up with me. Told me I was too nosy and that he needed to live his life as a single man. We finally got back together. I told him that it was for marriage. He said yes, that he would eventually ask me to marry him. A few months ago, he started acting really cold towards me. He would barely call me, and when we were together, he would never touch me. That's when I started digging in his phone and I found that he was talking to some girls on Instagram. But I knew that if I confronted him, I would risk him breaking up with me again. So I did the next logical thing. I waited until I saw him again and I told him that I was pregnant. I even started to cry to make him feel like I was happy. His face turned completely white and he asked me if I was sure. He said, "Yes, aren't you happy, baby? Part 2 is up." That's when he started to cry. Remember, I don't even have a pregnancy test to show or anything. But surprisingly, he didn't ask for proof of my pregnancy. He just kept crying on the couch. I asked him if he was happy, but clearly he was not. But he lied and said, "Yeah, of course I'm happy." Seeing how vulnerable he was, I took advantage of the situation and I brought up marriage. I told him we should get engaged soon so that we could tell his family. Then he said, "Are you sure you want to get married?" And I said, "Of course, we're gonna have a baby." Then he sat there for a minute and thought about it. Finally, he got down on one knee and said, "Do you want to marry me?" I said yes! And this time I cried for real. All my dreams were coming true. After that, things started moving really fast. We invited both our families to my apartment and we hosted a dinner. We broke the news to them that I was pregnant. Again, nobody asked for proof of the pregnancy though. Our families were so happy and excited. That very same night, he gave me a beautiful engagement ring. His mom even started planning the baby shower. Let me me remind you, I'm actually not pregnant. So I had to come up with a plan. You'll never guess what I did. Part 3 is up. His mom started planning the baby shower and there was no turning back. Even my mom got involved in the planning of the baby shower. So like I said, I'm really not pregnant at this point. So I started trying to get pregnant, but my boyfriend just wouldn't touch me. I decided to check his phone again and saw that he was still talking to some girls on Instagram. So I decided to confront him at this point. I mean, we are engaged and I'm supposedly pregnant with his baby. I confronted him and he just got angry at me. He said that if he was gonna marry me and have a baby with me, he would need to talk to other girls and that was not a negotiation for him. Then he confessed that he was seeing 2 other girls on the side and that there was no way he was gonna stop seeing them and that I couldn't do anything about it. But his confession actually made me fall out of love with him. Now I'm planning to break up with him. But what do I do about the fake pregnancy? I do want to make him pay for what he said to me, but I don't want to hurt our families either. Should I just come clean? What should I do?
Story time about how my best friend kissed the guy that I liked right in front of me. So a little background information, I was 14 and in 8th grade. And we're gonna call my best friend Sophia. We were in a friend group of 3. And the other person in our friend group, his name was Josh. And that just happened to be the boy that I really liked. And Sophia knew how much I liked him. Like, I would tell her all the time how excited I was, you know, that we were hanging out. And she would be like, oh my god, I'm so happy for you. Like, you guys would be so cute. Just a bunch of fake. So the one day we're all sitting in our free period, super bored, and our friend Dylan says, hey, why don't we play spin the bottle? With a water bottle, of course. So it was us 4 and a few other kids from our class. Well, Sophia decided to spin the bottle first. And of course, who does it land on? Josh. And I'm sitting back like I have nothing to worry about. My best friend wouldn't do that to me. Well, of course, I was wrong. I thought she was going to apologize, but after she gave me a very smirky smile, well, they started hanging out more and I felt extremely left out, so I just decided to forgive her.
You know how I've mentioned before that I get really, really depressed right before I start my period? That's not special or unique. That happens to a lot of people. But I get the period voice in my head and I can tell that it's my period voice because it's like, you suck. Your life is going nowhere. You're awful. And my logical voice is like, well, that's just not true. And also, it's very rude to say. And it doesn't matter that you know that it's your period that's making you sad. Like, you're still sad. Yesterday, I had no reason to cry. No whatsoever. I was just crying and eating cheese. And today, it's even worse. I get so down. You know when Hank Green said the air is butter? I know he wasn't talking about depression, but that's what it feels like. The air is butter, and I am sad. So I went to Wendy's to get a Frosty Chino, which is a Frosty with coffee. And I was like, maybe this will make me feel some joy, like jolt of life in my body. Or make, you know, the lid wasn't on. And so I took a sip of my Frosty Chino that was supposed to make me happy. And now there's Frosty Chino on my sweater and on my pants, but you can't see because they're dark. And I just give up. I give up for today. I'm going to go home for everybody's safety. I'm going to cry because I want to, not because there's anything to cry about. I'm fine. I'm fine. But I just want to cry. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to watch something that's going to make me cry. I'm going to eat more cheese. I'm going to finish my ice cream coffee. That's probably just going to put me, look at the lid popping off. I'm done today.
I'm 26 and my sister Anna, 24, married my friend Lance, 27. He was the cool guy in our friend group, handsome, mysterious, smart, and quiet. I don't know how he ended up with my sister. She's the total opposite, loud, funny, and outgoing. She's beautiful though, really beautiful, and when they got together, everyone saw how good they looked. Anna seemed to be really in love with him like all the time. She used to say how dreamy he was, how good he treated her, and how spoiled she felt. But Lance was always so stern and quiet. She would revolve around him at family gatherings, but he wouldn't engage that much with everyone but me and her. I was surprised when he asked her to marry him. My sister never took the wifey role too serious. She had a non-traditional wedding and Lance went along with it. She made a bunch of rules that he agreed to and then they moved into his house. Anna banned house utensils from the wedding list. She doesn't work, didn't finish her studies, and doesn't plan on having any kids. My sister is pretty much only into her looks, and I didn't think that Lance cared for that before. She's always on Snapchat or Instagram. I thought that after getting married, she would dress more appropriate since she's used to wearing crop tops, blouses, dress, and shirts that showed her cleavage, short skirts, or tight jeans, but she says that Lance likes her just fine. Last week was my dad's birthday and we had a party. My sister and Lance came and she was wearing a pretty short floral dress. Nonetheless, most of the men were looking at her, including my dad's friends. Lance was as stoic as always, and my sister came to my mom and I saying that she didn't know why he was so quiet since he's not like that, but he is like that, so that's when I told her that if she didn't dress like that, then he might take her more seriously. She got sad and sat quietly for the rest of the night, and I didn't think much of that. But a few days ago, Lance texted me saying that he would appreciate it if I didn't comment on his wife's way of dressing again. Am I the asshole for telling my sister that her husband would take her more seriously if she didn't dress like she did?